Welcome to BookMob for episode 16. I think it's episode 16. I've had a couple of technological hiccups and internet was out for nearly 3 days, but I'm back. Thank goodness for that. All right, today's episode is going to touch on the subject of books that you've started and can't finish, or books that you want to read, maybe perhaps because of their history or because of their reputation, because people have it on their bookshelves, or you've picked up a book and you start reading it and you put it down and pick up another one and you completely forget about it. But in this episode, I'm going to be talking about five books that are pretty well known, that I have struggled as a well-rounded reader to actually completely finish. Now, one of the books I have finally read after many attempts, but the reason I put it on today is because it's probably for me was one of the most challenging books that I tried to read when I was a young man, and it just never I mean, the history of books, the reputation of books sometimes carries a book from bookshop to bookshelf, but the challenge of reading fine literature, and when I say fine literature, I mean, generally it's books that are well known to non-readers. Okay, now let me start with a book that is, I mean, it's probably one of the most famous named books in the world. I have tried to read it, I would say at least 6 times, serious attempts to read it, and I just cannot seem to finish it. I just find myself getting, it's not even bored, it's more like distracted, because you need to concentrate and you need to really burrow down into the words, into the story, and in fact there's even guides written on how to read this book. Okay, so that book is James Joyce's Ulysses. Okay, now, I mean, it's, as books go pages wise, I think it's nearly 1,000 pages or something, but obviously that also depends on what version you get. But it's the well-known story as Leopold Bloom, who's spending the day in Dublin walking around, and it's a story of his wife, and from what I read, I enjoyed it, but I've never finished it. I just cannot get to the end of it. I think the furthest I got was probably about, 350 pages or something, and I just lose the desire to continue. And it's a giant of literature. I mean, this book is just, I mean, there's whole festivals devoted to this very book. I mean, another book I've always had trouble reading, I tried and I still could not get past page 50, was Finnegan's Wake. I mean, that's a monster of a book. So I will finish it one day, and I guess maybe the older I get, maybe the better that I can enjoy, and I can actually know why I'm reading it. And I just didn't want to read it just because, I've read this one. No, when I read books, I like to read them and feel them and get stuck into them. All right, the second book on this 5 tough books I haven't finished. David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest. Whew. How far did I get here? So I've still got my bookmark in here, and a betting slip. Anyway, that was page 516. Yeah, I really, I think I've read 2 other Foster Wallace books, but this one just really, I mean, it's so dry. It's like, it's fun. I mean, you read it and you go and you laugh at the most inane things about it. And the idea that it's not like there's a story going on, it's a life that's going on. And it's very much the life of someone who, unfortunately, David Foster Wallace took his own life. And, so I guess this book is a kind of like the traditional American satire on American life. Now, I'm not going to, obviously I can't really talk about the book because I haven't finished. Why haven't I finished it? I think I ran out of patience. I ran out of need and desire. And again, when you try and read something, maybe I'm not ready for it, because I have read, like I said, I've read other books in my life. Like I bought William Shearer's The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich in 1990. And I didn't read it until 1998. And in fact, I've read it about 4 times now. I couldn't read it when I first bought it, but subsequently I did read it, 8 years later, and then I've read it 3 more times. So there is always hope. So I will one day get stuck into Infinite Jest, because, according to The Guardian, it's an extraordinary and astonishing vast epic of contemporary American culture. Well, whatever. Still, a book I hadn't finished. Now we come to... now we come to this amazing book. Edwin A. Abbott, Flatland. Really strange book. I've tried to read it like a few times. I guess it's like mathematics in story. I read, I'd never heard of the book until I picked it up. I think I got this about 8 years ago. And the story was just the narrative, or the blurb. How would a creature limited to 2 dimensions be able to grasp the possibility of a third? Abbott's droll and delightful romance of many dimensions explores this conundrum. Now, in my head, I had this idea of what the blurb was talking about, but when I put eye to paper, I could not make head or tail of it. This is from the 19th century as well, and I'm just amazed that people read it back then, if they did. So at the end of the day, this will be the least book that I'll read, because I just could not. I could read the words, I could understand the words, but I just could not get a feel for the narrative. Now again, sometimes you might have to read 50 pages or 100 pages to actually get a feel for the story, to get a feel for what the writer is letting you, giving you insight into. So, but out of the books I'm showing you here, this one is certainly my least desired to be tried again. But anyway, it's a tough nut to crack, this one. Maybe if you're into mathematics and chemistry and physics and God knows what, some kind of abstract thinking, you might love it. Anyway, Flatland. Check it out. I dare you. Now, the book I'm going to show you now is a book that, like I said, I've tried to read. I have finished it, finally, but after years and years and years of trying to read it. And that is Herman Melville's Moby-Dick, about a big bloody whale. And lovely, great story. But I think what slowed me down was Melville sort of suddenly grinds the narrative to a halt and starts going into the intricacies of whales and whaling. And maybe when I was earlier on, I thought, why would he do that? That's not fair on the reader. But really, once I read it, successfully read it, I think when did I buy this one? Let me see when this was published. Because I've had this for years. Yeah, so this is from 1986, and I bought this at Dimmicks. So I don't think I bought it in 1986, but I bought this at Dimmicks all those years ago. And like I said, it travelled around the country when I was in the army. I think because it looks old and worn. But anyway, I have tried to read it on and off over the years, and see if I've got, and even, I mean, it's sort of like it's a story, but it's almost like a documentary novel on whaling and whalers. I mean, even in this edition, they have pictures that kind of set it apart from a normal book of classic literature. So, look, I finally read it, and I know the first line. I think the first line is, my name is Ishmael. Or no, hold on. Oh, geez, I used to know it, and I hate the fact that now I have to look at something I know nothing. Yes, call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money. So it's a story of a young person going out into the world and looking for work, and he finds work on with this manic captain who has this sort of religious sort of zealot to kill this white whale. And Queequeg, I think that's his name, is the friend that Ishmael befriends on the ship. Anyway, actually, out of all the books, I would suggest reading this one first. If you've never read Herman Melville, this one, look, it is a good read, but I guarantee you're going to get swamped by facts and figures and biology, but it's worth it because it does help to paint the picture of a period of time and why these people were killing whales, why they were hunting whales, what they used for the whales, how much the whales meant to the people on this coast. And so it's a really great story. And don't see that's the other thing. This book will trumps the film. So again, read this before you read any of the others. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the final, this is the irony of all this, the final book on I haven't been able to finish but started was in my panic to try and overcome my lack of understanding or meaning or reason or desire to read and finish Ulysses by James Joyce. I bought this book called How to Read Joyce. And this one is it's for Ulysses. And it kind of helps you understand, like it even suggests that you read, and I didn't finish this either because I gave up purely because I knew I wasn't going to go back to Ulysses, and I was wondering if, yes, I was wasting my time, but I thought maybe if I read it, that was the original idea, I'll read it and then I'll have an understanding and then I'll pick it up and start again. But no, that's not what happened. So I stopped reading How to Read Joyce, and in fact I picked up another book which I've never read, and it's How to Read Ulysses. And in that book it actually talks about splitting you read forward and back at the same time. So in order to, and again, because I haven't read it, I don't know how true this is, but Joyce kind of wants you to read, from this part of the book and then go back to that part of the book and then go forward to that part of the book. Now, I don't know, and I mean, it's obviously written by some, boffin at Cambridge or Oxford, and he or she has tried to come up with a method or a pattern of reading Joyce, but that doesn't sound like it's going to be fun. I want to read Ulysses and enjoy it, and perhaps in my later years, as my calm brain starts to accept longer duration, and perhaps like the character in Catch-22 who does things that are boring because he knows how precious time is, and so he does things that are completely dull and boring because it takes a long time and he appreciates the time. So maybe that'll happen. Anyway, I hope you are still here. So, James Joyce, Ulysses, David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest, Abbott, Flatland, Herman Melville, Moby-Dick, and Derek Attridge for the Joyce reader. So at the end of the day, those are the 5 books that I have. And there's more. There are other books like this. And I hide them in the dark recesses of my bookshelf because I'm embarrassed to have books on my shelf that I haven't read. And there are a couple of books I haven't read, and those are the first 5. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and please stay tuned. I'm having an interview with a Sydney writer Sydney Croatian writer Branka Chubrello. Hopefully that will be up by the end of the week. I'll be talking with her tomorrow sometime. So please stick around for that. She's written some amazing books. And I read one of her books last year called Dethroned, which was a great book about the war in Yugoslavia, the Croatia-Serbian conflict. And it really makes a lot of sense in today's world, considering the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. There is a lot of similarities there in the brutality and the nastiness and the politics and the ugliness of war. Anyway, so be good, keep reading, and make sure you buy books for your children. Bye!